Hi, today we're going to take a look at calculating averages. And whenever I get a question on averages, I always advise to calculate the numerator separate from the denominator, and then do the math to divide the numerator by the denominator. Well, why would I do that? We could Let's take a look at this very simple summary of the data, the total data in the Superstore data set. In that data set, there are 10,000 individual records, and the total sales is $2.3 million. We don't apply any filters. Those are the values for the total sales and the total number of records in that data set. We just take a simple average. If we just bring sales to the canvas and take the average, that will total $228. It's just simply that value by the 10,000 records that result in an average of $228. And that might be the value you want. On the other hand, you might want to look at the average sales per order. And that's entirely different than the value that we recorded here. We start with that same data and we take a look at the number of orders, and that's just a simple count of the orders. All I'm doing here is counting distinctly the order IDs. We bring that to the canvas. We see that value is 5,000, a little over 5,000 total orders. Well, why are there 10,000 records and 5,000 orders? Well, you can imagine an order might have more than one product on it, and each one of those products generates an individual record in the data set. So there's 5,000 individual orders. And if we want to calculate the average per order, we just simply divide the sales, our numerator, by the denominator, the number of records. And I've done this in a separate calculation. And we can apply that. And we find out that that value is $455 per order. And you can carry that on, and you can carry it over and look at individual categories. And you can see that the same holds true, that in furniture, if we take the average of the total orders in furniture, or the total records in furniture, it's 343. It's at 754,000 divided by 2,200 records. But there's only the actual number of orders is 1,800 orders, and the average per order is 415, and so on. It's 192 for office supplies and 538 for technology. So you have to think about what's our numerator and what is going to be our denominator. And one way to think about it is we say, I want to know the average sales per order, and think about what is the per order. We get the same sort of thing going on if we look at the average sales per day. And in this example, I have applied some filters to the data set. And I'm only going to look at the month of December in 2022. And if we take a look at that, the total sales for the month of December is $85,000, and the total record count is 482 for the month of December 2022. And if we take the 85,000 and divide it by the 482, we get the average sales of 177. Well, we already know that that's the sales per record. It's not the sales per day. So if I wanted to determine the number of sales per day, we can count the order dates. And we can look here, and it's a simple count of the order dates. I used to count the order date, just like I did in the previous example. We're just counting the number of days out there. And I can apply that, and I see there's 29 days worth of orders, and I can calculate the average sales per order date. And that's the same idea, where I'm taking the numerator, the sales, and dividing by the denominator, that value there. And I get a value of $2,900, a little over $2,900 per day. But you're going to say, hey, wait a minute, Jim. There's 31 days in December. And that's right. But there were only 29 days when there was a sale. So there's only 29 days that have a record in the data set. So once again, you have to ask yourself, what is the average that I really want to calculate? Do I want to calculate the average per days that there were in order, or do I want to calculate the average for each day in the month? If I want to calculate the average for each day of the month, I can use this equation, and this just tells me how many days there were in the month. And you can go through this. We just take a look at the following month and subtract uh, the number of days in the following first day of the following month, and we subtract one from it, and we'll get the last day of the preceding month. And we can bring that to the data set, and we need to take the average of that. And we can see that's 31. And if we calculate the average per and if we use that using the same idea again, we're going to take the numerator, the sales per month, divided by the denominator, in this case, the average per month, and we're going to get a number that looks like $2,700 and not the $2,900 that we were showing when we were using 29 days for the denominator instead of 31 days for the denominator. Okay, I want to leave you with this thought. Whenever you're talking about averages, think about calculating the numerator and the denominator separately. And in that process, determine what the denominator represents. And I always like to think, what is the per value? If I'm calculating sales per order date, or sales per every day in the month, or sales per customer, and you use that count of that per value for the denominator. Thank you very much. See you next time.